Hi there, it's Christina. I thought I would marry a PowerPoint presentation with a brief video so that I could just kind of talk about my reflection, my progress, and my experience over the past year after attending the first Chair Academy. So I thought I would throw in kind of some bits and pieces from my original IPDP. So this will kind of, I'll share with you what my original kind of goals were. And as you can see, I wanted to work on my strengths, the LPI strengths specific to encourage the heart. And then my work behavioral style related to kind of openness and trust as far as how my team members feel about me as a leader. And there's more that I have, but let me talk about some of these first. This overall last year has been really dramatic, to say the least. That there's probably should be movies made about this as far as how we dealt with a pandemic with COVID-19. So my goals, my plans completely got blown out of the water because within a very short time after the first week of the Chair Academy, we got hit with the pandemic and we were sent home and had to work remotely. And as a department chair, that reshifted my entire focus. So everything I did was remotely, and I had a lot of fires to put out and had to deal with adjuncts who had never taught online, residential faculty who had never taught online. And I kind of had to learn how to help people, basically. So my job became not just a manager role or a leadership role. I guess it would be a leader, but I embrace kind of a mentor role in many aspects, because I had to kind of put aside, okay, here's my normal department chair tasks, and I had to start helping people do things that were natural for me, like how to videotape themselves doing a lecture like this for their students. So I thought this was a perfect example of kind of some of the things that I've had to learn and share and support my team with. So getting into the IPDP, much of what I have here as far as my activities, as far as specific methods that I was going to achieve my goals, do not look anything like this. So I'll talk about the strengths first and foremost. I wanted to increase my LPI strengths to encourage the heart. And so I do sometimes have difficulty with praise. I think that would be how I would explain it. I'm very much to the point. Let's get this done. And I always feel like people, I don't know. I feel like I personally don't need a lot of praise to feel like my job was worthwhile. And so I think I have a habit of just assuming everyone is that way. So I've really gone above and beyond as far as trying to praise my team members and recognizing them for what they contribute to with information. Now, I had said I was going to praise my team members verbally, at least bi-weekly. It was difficult because we all of a sudden were online. So the interesting thing is I wasn't actually able to do this bi-weekly approach, but as I reflect back, I was doing these things, especially with my administrative assistant. because over the course of us being in remote learning, we actually, me and my administrative assistant went to mentoring to help us build a better relationship. And this was part of that, was building this strength, this encouragement of the heart. So my IPDP, excuse me, my overall average went up by 7.6. So last year, the responses were 41. This year was 48.6. The thing that concerned me was my coworkers. It went down. This encouraged the heart by negative 3.3. And I'm assuming that it's because we're remote now, and so we get a lot less opportunity to encourage one another. So I'm hoping to look forward to getting more in person. We're planning that for the fall, and that way I can actually really improve this overall number, even though I looked at my average previously of 41, and that was the goal, was to increase that. I did increase it to 48.6. So I was doing something right. But I do want to kind of separate my coworkers from that and go, okay, why did it go down with them? And so I'm thinking it's because we're remote, but I'm still very much going to look within and see if I can't do something about that while we are still working remotely. Another goal was to increase the openness or trust that my team members felt as a leader. I was able to provide my colleagues the Johari window, but at the beginning, but I was never able to follow up and provide it to them again to be able to kind of assess any progress in that sense. So some of the things were to share my difficulties, ask for feedback, ask and listen, those things. I actually have been doing those things. And so I have shared with my colleagues, my struggles. And I have also reached out to a couple of my colleagues who have been chair before and asked for their insight and maybe some ideas of what they think I should do. So I'm hoping that the openness and trust among me and my team members has improved. I don't have a way of assessing that because my original assessment was not able to be repeated. But when I look at questions that to me are relevant to this, like asks for feedback on how his or her actions affect other people's performance. Last year, the average was 6.5. This year, 7.6. So I am seeing that these scores that to me are related to this have gone up. So I'm hoping that my idea of progress is an appropriate assessment on my behalf. The next goals that I had kind of a part 1 and a part 2 of my goals, and this was related to effective communication. So I have been much more purposeful in regards to my communication, in regards to supervision, and this was kind of based off of some issues I had with my administrative assistant, where she had become very defensive when I asked her to do things. And then when I explained to her maybe things that she was doing needed to be done differently, she was very defensive. And so I realized that it's a two-way street with this communication, and that I needed to maybe do some things to have better communication skills. So I went through this process of first of all, aid. Like I try very hard now to define the behavior that maybe is a problem, a specific behavior. So in the past, if I said, to my admin assistant, your emails kind of have an unprofessional tone to it. I think she took that as vague and she took it as very defensive. I now try to clearly define what maybe was unprofessional. It's very specific. And then a missing component in the past was maybe how that impacts our department or our college. And so I explain very much how this might be seen from another perspective. And then I have made it a point to provide her options. Like, okay, so you could basically say the same thing, but it could be said in a more professional manner. So these are things that I have done. And part of this I implemented within this mentoring program that I have completed with my administrative assistant, which was very beneficial, very, very beneficial. So, it has been a very reflective process where I've had to address specific focus questions, like what went well, what didn't go well, what could I have done to improve it? And I've often even followed up with my administrative assistant when I felt like it didn't go well. Instead of me just being reflective and saying to myself, this is what I could have done differently, I have actually reached out to her and said, you know what? I feel like that didn't go well. This communication between us didn't go well. And here's what I feel like I could have done to improve this. What do you think? And I ask her for feedback. And that kind of goes back to, showing more vulnerability, which was one of my other issues, is showing that I'm not perfect and that I understand she's not perfect, and kind of finding a place in the middle to be able to communicate and come to terms. So other things are that other objective was, using these active listening techniques, like make eye contact, stay open-minded. So unfortunately, I was not able to journal. Part of the reason is because we have gone remote. So many of these methods were not easily assessed, like body language when we're, it's all through emails, or if it's on the phone, those types of things. But I have tried very hard to implement more question asking, follow-up questions to seem interested. And I've tried very much to, when we have had virtual meetings, to let her finish, even though there's some times where I feel like things are going off track. And that's when I sometimes would get a little frustrated and might have used some poor active listening techniques, just because I tend to be kind of type A and want things done this right now in this manner and quickly. And so I've really tried very hard to allow more time when I have virtual meetings, so that I have plenty of time to listen and ask questions and actually do some paraphrasing, those types of things. So I feel very much that things have gotten better between my admin and I. And when I read through the LPI, I am seeing improvement in the comments. I am seeing, comments that show that there is overall improvement in the perception of how I am doing things. So, like, for example, things like, showed great patience and leadership during times of crisis, has stayed very rational, showing me more creative ways to complete a project, has faith in my abilities. And I have a feeling that is my administrative assistant, which I think goes along with this communication has improved so drastically that it has also gone back to this increased openness and trust. This statement, has faith in my abilities, I feel like plays a role in the communication improvement that has occurred, as well as my ability to show my own vulnerability so that things could improve. Unfortunately, assessment has been difficult to really be able to sit down and assess these things. But overall, I think this LPI, the improvements that I'm seeing in these, shows that even though, and that's where I kind of get to my journey and my reflection on the past year, even though I wasn't able to sit down and like actively do the things like purposefully, like I had plotted or slated to do, I think the awareness has allowed me to be more reflective and kind of slow down and become a more patient leader. And I think that has been extremely beneficial and has allowed for our team to improve, and for my role as a leader, the perception of me as a leader to improve overall with my team. So I am looking forward to this next week's academy because I feel like I benefited greatly from last year, even if it was the small nuances. It was that I was aware of some of my own personal kind of barriers to being an excellent leader. And once I was aware of my own personal barriers, like some rigidness to my thinking or rigidness to my my role as a leader in general, once I was aware of that, I could behave in ways that were more positive and reflected a better leadership role. So I absolutely think this is beneficial. And I very much look forward to hearing some of the other cohort and the Chair Academy, how their experiences went, what happened for them, and how they were able to navigate this new world that we're in. I really look forward to learning some more skills. Hopefully we're going to do that. And obviously this year has been difficult. I am actually in my office right now on campus, and I am the only person in the entire building. I am now coming to campus twice a week just so I can get out of my house. So I very much look forward to social interaction. I practically beg my students to come see me during office hours, because for someone who has always thought I was a little bit on the introverted side, I'm realizing, no, I do like people and I do like the social interaction. So I am extremely grateful for having this opportunity to meet with everyone next week. And I'm hoping this was an appropriate method for summarizing my last year after the first week of the Chair Academy, some of my progress towards my goals. I made progress in areas that I didn't even know were goals, or maybe weren't in the forefront of my mind as far as goals. But I feel like there's always room for improvement. And I think if anything, the Chair Academy has allowed me to be more introspective about the potential for improvement. So hopefully this works. If not, let me know and I will submit something else. But thank you for this opportunity.